Are you watching garbage content on trading? It's probably not helping you. A lot of people do. In fact, probably 95% of content out there on trading is garbage. And I'll share with you some insight here in how that really works and operates. And I'll show you the different levels of content and medium that you should be focused in on and how you can really ramp things up to becoming a profitable trader. See, in order to become profitable, you have to look at things at a deeper level, much different than what other people are out there doing. And in fact, they might be looking at YouTube videos that don't have a lot of subscribers. It might be ones that are focused on strategy, less about the hot stock picks. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some insights and tips. If you're brand new here, I'm Sasha, the options coach. I've been teaching people to trade options over the last decade. I've got a lot of people that I've mentored for many years and even done a lot of one-on-one coaching as well as classes and so forth. You can check out those classes on our website, optionsblackbelt.com. Anyways, to get things started and kick things off, I want to share with you a little insight here. So the first one is going to be entertainment level content. A lot of people look at entertainment level content. They look for video sites. They look for newsletters. They're looking for, hey, what is it out there that I can kind of trade? They're kind of, fumbling around out there to looking at trading content. Unfortunately, this is the kind of crap that you get on some trading groups. And I'm part of a lot of different trading groups because I want to see what they're talking about. Now, I know how to block that stuff out, but that's very difficult to do for a lot of people that are new because there's a lot of content your way and you have to be quick to recognize it's going to suck you in the same way that video shorts do, in the same way that cell phones do. They suck people in and very few people can put that down. This happens all the time in trading, and it's even more so because it creates kind of this emotional response towards the financial side of things. So here's some content like, hey, do one push-up for every bad trade you do. 6 months later, you're buff. Oh my goodness. Or something like this. Hey, talking about hot stock charts or bromance. There's a lot of like reality TV type content discussion or just talking about hot stocks. So something like this where, hey, TEM, rumor has it, our girl Nancy Pelosi, loaded up on some of these things. Again, I don't know if any of these is true, and it really doesn't matter because what's happening is here, when we go look at a surface level based content like this is just kind of looking at things at one level. And the problem with this is a lot of people are trying to find, hey, which is the next hot stock? They're looking at something like this and they're saying, oh, maybe this is a good one. Maybe this is one I should be looking at. When in fact, it's not about one vehicle. I'll show you kind of like my paper account. This is what I use for teaching a lot of these live classes. We put on a few sample trades. So I do a bunch of live classes. You could check them out on our website. Anyway, you want to look at spreading money and capital. So take a look. I don't have just a single position. Look, we might have a bunch of different positions with different profit amounts. It's not about one single profit. It's about having different positions in different spots, different zones. And some of them are winning, some of them are losing, and you're managing the losers. You're the winners you're taking off. They're a lot more simple. Just like a guy who cuts tree branches, usually it's the dead trees or the dead branches that we're trimming. We're not looking at, hey, cutting the good stuff. So the good stuff, let it kind of run. The bad stuff, kind of work it or manage it. And that's what you want to do. But unfortunately, there's just so much garbage out there. Hey, this is one hot stock, or, oh, this one and this one. And what happens in this level is that you actually, it's just like high school, man. It's just like high school. Did Susie date Sam? Did they go out on a date? Did they kiss? Did they what? And instead of Susie and Sam, what you have here is SMCI or kind of DKNG or NVIDIA or whatever the stock is. And then what are they doing next? Are they releasing something? What's the earnings going to be like? It's just fluff. A lot of the news stuff is fluff, and it's not really talking about how do I create a strategy around that? How do I manage my risk around that? That's not what a lot of things talk about. And you have to dig deeper beyond that. That's where, finding the non-popular things is probably going to be more beneficial for you than the popular crap online. That's the sad truth. Okay, this gets me to kind of my second point here, and that is that educational tourist level, where you're starting to watch videos and you might even buy some cheaper content forms. So this could be like a newsletter. This could be, simple video courses or classes. In fact, we do sometimes promotions on some of our classes, but the classes are about 3 hours long for workshops and classes. But sometimes we do some promotions. So sometimes people can see them. But this is kind of now you're getting into a space where, okay, am I putting on paper trades or maybe starting out nibbling in a few different zones? You might be trying to get some trade alerts and that kind of thing. Now, this can still lead you into some bad traps because sometimes a lot of the content providers, they're just looking to make a quick few bucks. So you have to be very careful. Has somebody been out there for a long period of time? Maybe check their longest or oldest videos. What you have to really look at are if they're just feeding you trade alerts, those kinds of things, they just don't work because everybody's going to get in at different times, different points, different zones, different areas. They have a different risk tolerance. They're going to manage it different. So even though I might tell you an entry point, now you might manage it differently. You might exit it differently. You might counteract that position differently because it's not just about one move, right? A lot of people think in trading that it's just like, hey, one move from here to here. But in fact, you might put on a trade, but then you might hedge it off with like an option. Then you might, sell more things or options, and then eventually you get to the profitability state. But what most people think, it's like, oh, I do this one trade and then I'm out over here and it's for a profit. That's just not the way trading works. Okay. But this is where people get misled. Now, the good news is that when you're here at the educational tourist side of things, you're at least starting to watch content that's usually a little more beneficial, something that talks about strategy, improvement, growth, evolution. It's not just about the current news topics and all that. It's just fluff. That doesn't get you anywhere because that thing changes all the time. That will get you viewerships. That will get you YouTube views. And those people are very popular. Unfortunately, but they probably can't trade worth a crap. And you'll usually see it because they concentrate risk in positions and so forth. And the deeper traders already know that and understand that. It's just that they're, a news operator, a news channel. Sometimes some of them are even manipulators where they'll tell you to buy, like, especially if a stock's like under $10. If they tell you to buy stuff like that, that's less than $10, they can actually move the market because if they can get a lot of other people buying into this position from their viewership, like let's say there's, 2 million subscribers or something like that. If maybe 100,000 people get into that position and they spend, a handful of millions of dollars between all of them, you can actually move that stock in position. And the person who actually made the YouTube video is able to get out of that position and dump it because the stock price rose from all the followers that bought that position. And then they're dumping it back to their people that subscribe to them. So be careful. These things do happen. Usually it's with cheaper stocks because manipulating bigger stocks, it's not you can't do it, but it takes a lot more capital to do that. You wouldn't be on a YouTube side to be able to handle things like that. The third thing here that I want to mention is that after that level, you're going to get into kind of like a strategy sampler. This is where you get into more testing ideas and kind of getting feedback. Again, by this stage, you're probably paper trading. And what you're doing is that as you go through and you're testing different zones, you might go in and say, okay, well, I'm looking at selling single puts. Okay, how does that work? Let me do that about 10 times, get my feedback, and then improve and do version 2 of this. Then again, do about 10 trades, maybe 20 trades. Then again, what does that do? Get some data, get some feedback. If you're starting to watch content that's related to this is usually from our level and my point of view, it's going to be things where we do our classes, courses, live events, those kinds of things, or live online classes. Those are kind of the things where you start getting into some deeper level learning because you're starting to see different zones, the way things work, the way things operate, how you might manage positions, and you're starting to refine your strategy because you might do an iron condor one way, but then what the class does is show you to refine it a little bit different or try another approach. And then you go to version 2 of your strategy, then you go to version 3, version 4, and so on. So that's where a higher depth of learning occurs. Now, you often don't see a lot of this on YouTube. Now, when I was doing YouTube, I think it was about 15 years ago, my first YouTube video. So about 15 years back, you would see more of this deeper content, right? It would be deep form content. And even now, I do have some videos 30, 40 minutes long on YouTube. But the downside with this is now a lot of those videos actually don't get a lot of views. People don't actually want long form content because the people online, when they're starting on YouTube, they're just starting their search. And this is where a lot of the creation happens in trading is it sucks people in for the short form content. And when people want the short form content, they don't get depth in that information. And unfortunately, then in order for you to actually suck in deep information, you have to be willing to study 3-5 hours sometimes, and not a lot of people are willing to do that. And that's why so many people fail in trading, because they can't even handle watching a video for 2 minutes. So they want to quickly flip through. So the attention span, it constantly conditions you to having no focus muscle and no kind of dedication for that one specific content or topic piece. So watch out for that. So when you see something like this, then what you have is people that have a longer attention span and are able to handle it. And especially if the content form is not fluff content, right? It's actually strategy focused. It's about how to manage risk. Then those videos at a longer form, much more worthwhile to watch. But if you're doing like news stuff for 30, 40 minutes, there's no benefit to that. Now, this is the same reason why I've taken a lot of my content that's longer form, and we just don't post too much of it on YouTube anymore, because a lot of people on YouTube, they're just starting out and they're just looking for things. So most of the time when we have the longer form, it's going to be in a class form, because that's the people that are more motivated. They're willing to pay for that, and they're willing to go into a deeper form. That's why some of these classes that we have, like on iron condors, I mean, I've got things on at the money vertical spreads. I mean, these classes are long, and some of them are 4 or 5 days long, where we even talk about the reverse wheel. Like instead of the standard wheel, we're talking about the reverse wheel, doing it with puts. So there's a lot of depth to this content and material. But on YouTube, usually it's not the case. People are even saying, like, for 7-minute videos, 10-minute videos, you could have made it 2 minutes. And it's like, okay, great. Yeah, probably could have. Even this one probably could have been shorter. But the thing is hey, if you want depth, you're going to be willing to go for it. If you want surface level material, you won't be going for it. Okay, next one, we're going to go in number 4, structured trader. So this is when people are already trading and they're starting to do things. So this level of content, you're probably now just looking for feedback. This type of content is very difficult to find online. A lot of times you're going to be looking for a coach periodically. That's the type of content you'll need. So when you're already a structured trader, what does that really mean? It means you have a strategy in place. So a strategy that kind of is working, or maybe not working, or it has flaws, but you're doing something. So now when you have that strategy, you need to take it to version 2, version 3, version 4. Unfortunately, what you need to do here is being able to see this from an outer perspective and see, hey, am I actually able to see that from an outside view and be objective about it? Like, hey, I'm screwing up, or hey, I'm speeding, or hey, I'm cutting people off on the drive. That happens. Maybe, hey, I'm not eating healthy. If you're able to objectively see these things, without bias, then you'll be able to improve on your own. But for a lot of people, they need some kind of coaching, mentoring, and maybe at least a little guidance or learning path. This is a lot of the work that I do, is I kind of go in and look at people from an outer perspective and then say, hey, try this thing on your next version. Try this thing on this version. Okay, so now we're going to go and you're going to do 20 trades. Come back to me. We're going to look it over, and we're going to create a version 4 of that strategy or that plan. So again, this form though, when you're at this stage, you might already be profitable or getting to that profitability stage. You're very close to it. So don't give up, but you just might need some refinement in there. Now you have to usually think methodically about the process, but what you're doing is you're starting to think more procedural work rather than chase the money side of things. Now, last one here, when we get into it, and that is the high performance kind of content and thinking. So this is where you're already deep journaling. Usually you're working with a coach. If not, you're already doing some trades and you're reevaluating. Now, as far as deep learning goes, I've seen some people where we go in and they video and screen record all of their trades, and they kind of talk amongst themselves and then go back and rewatch videos. Think of this as training tapes for sports. You do it in sports, which is a pretty big industry if you really think about it. It's huge, it's massive, right? But the financial industry is even bigger. It's way bigger, because the finance industry actually finances sports. So when you really come down to it and think about it, it's a bigger industry. So do you think that people don't record themselves? No, they do. They do. It's just like in there. One of the other exercises we do that I've had people do in the past is, look, some people who are older, retired, maybe they have a fortune as well, but they're just retired, but they don't have their computer clicking as well. So they're not clicking as fast. So we have an exercise where, hey, do 100 trades kind of in, out, and getting in and out, just to be able to practice the clicking and order execution. Okay. So what you're trying to do, and I've got kind of like a pen in my hand right now, so it won't be doing it as quick. But just for the fact of, let's say you're going into one of these stocks or tickers, and we're going into Disney, but you might say, okay, well, let me go in and learn to use this platform. And maybe I want to sell puts. So I'm going to go ahead and sell this one. And then I'm going to send that in, and bam, that one's sent in. And now I've got a working order. Now I'm going to create a opposite order, and I'm going to aim to close that for a lower price. Okay. And then we'll send that one in. So practicing clicking that like 50 or 100 times, just so you're comfortable with the orders. Because some people are slow. They're going to say, oh, where do I click? Where do I click? Because we don't know our platform. Maybe we're new to trading. It takes time. But just like you're practicing chords on a piano, the principle is the same. Work it so you have muscle memory, routine, so you don't make other mistakes. Now, that way you can spend more of your time focused in on thinking about other things in the process. So anyways, this is the different types of learning stages, and this is the way you want to start thinking about things. And as far as content forums of how to progress moving forward. So be careful if you're online and you've got a lot of content pieces thrown your way. Most of that stuff is not going to be useful. There's going to be a lot of garbage material. You'll be sucked into it. It's okay. It happens to me still. But you have to at least recognize it fairly quickly. Watch yourself from this outer perspective, recognize those things, and continue to improve and evolve. I know you can do it. I've got confidence in you because you're watching these videos. So that means you'll be able to push forward, push through. But the world is getting, less attention span, more, quick short videos just to grab your attention. And there's a lot of distractions on the way on your journey. So block it out. You've got to learn to have those filters more. And that way you can progress and be above everybody else. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Truly appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.